the Champions League would put Tottenham in the strongest position in the transfer market. So that would be accepted.
Yeah.
And given what we're seeing with a lot of the accounts being announced at the moment, lots of clubs are close on PSR, are in debt. We haven't seen Tottenham's accounts yet, but I think we all know Tottenham aren't going to be in that situation. Do Tottenham, whatever happens in terms of not have an opportunity at the moment, and maybe
yeah, I'd agree with that sort of as an overall perspective. But again, I've always felt with those things, it's not what you spend, it's how you spend it. I've always believed that, and I'll continue to believe that. So you're right. I think our football club will be in a great position from a financial perspective to continue to grow our football team. But if we make bad decisions with that position, then we don't have an advantage. So I still think you need to, and even if you're not in that position, you can still, I believe you can still make progress and advance. It's still about the decisions you make with what you have. But I agree that we are in a position where I think there is an opportunity for us during the summer window to continue to build the team.
And it potentially puts Tottenham in a slightly different position to what they've been in. I'm not talking about advantages, disadvantages, but Tottenham have always been in a slight position of what they can aim for in the transfer market and what other clubs have been trying to do. It feels like Tottenham might be in a different position.
Yeah, to a certain extent, but I don't think we're in a position to spend 100 million on a player, if that's what you're suggesting. But because that's not the case, and I think it'll ever be the case for the club. Our competitors are. So, irrespective of the positions, but I think when you look at our two transfer windows so far, I think we've done really well in pitching it to the level that we need to pitch it as a football club, and bringing in real quality players that I think have all sort of increased in value since they've been here, and I think there's more to come from that. So, the premise that we're in a good position, I agree with. It's up to us to make sure we take advantage of that, though. John?
And you were talking about progression and where the club is now. I do actually think that the majority of Spurs fans will probably argue that they're probably a lot further down the road than they might have imagined in the summer. Do you see it like that? I mean, it's maybe a tribute to the players that have pushed on really well, haven't they, this season?
Look, I think, John, with everything that's happened, if I give myself that luxury of trying to reflect when there's still 12 games to go, I'd say, and I think I've said that I'm super proud of the way the club, the players in particular, have responded to the adversity we've had this year. Because it's not just about, obviously, new manager coming in, new way of playing, new staff, new squad changing over, but we've had some real challenges, including, again, kind of covering old ground, but losing Harry 2 days before the first game. Like, I can envisage a scenario, or many scenarios, where that could go very, very differently. With the way that we as a football club and the players sort of took on that challenge. Because I think if you're looking for a bit of leeway or excuses, we've had plenty this year for us not to be in the position we are. Obviously we've had some pretty big injuries, pretty big absences through international tournaments. And what I've been really proud of saying, and I don't dismiss it, is just the real competitiveness of the players every week, irrespective of the lineup we've put out there. Even the games we've lost, like I said, we've been in them. It's not like we've been blown away by anybody. And I think if we had gone the other way and sort of, downplayed our expectations and downplayed any sort of progress for this year, I don't think we would have got as much out of the year as I think we have. I think we've set a really strong benchmark for competitiveness and not having any excuses for what we do for moving forward, so that if we're going to continue to grow, there'll be other challenges, not the challenges we've had this year, but we can always refer back to this year and say, well, look, through that the whole time, we never once sort of laid down, we were fighting all the way.
I guess a football sense, why is the Champions League and why is Europe so important to you? I mean, I guess it's an obvious question, but in terms of progression, in terms of incredible nights, this club has such a rich tradition.
It does, and I think it challenges, players. So for me, that's that's where you get more growth. Expose your players to different kind of conditions, different kind of football, different kind of challenges. More games allows you to get more growth in the group in general, at different levels. So I do believe it's important for our growth. And for me, that'll be, like I said, that's what I keep saying. I would have loved to have been in Europe this year. I really think it would have accelerated our growth in any European competition this year if we were in it. So it's imperative for us that we're back in there next year, and I think that will help us grow the group and grow the individuals. But again, not just being satisfied with that. It's about using that then as a vehicle, like I said, to get us where we want to. Kieran.
Hi, Ange.
Thank you.
It feels like we've heard more about set piece coaches than before, to the extent where we even know the names of the guys from Arsenal and Man City.
You don't sound excited by that, mate.
Chelsea created their own set piece department.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a set piece outside of it?
No, I've never had a sort of specific set piece coach. I've always had somebody who's responsible for that, but usually I always think it's better if that's somebody part of the coaching staff, because I think it's just an extension of how we play our football. I think that I don't really separate set pieces from everything else we do in terms of the kind of team we want to be. So it kind of all hopefully links in. So I've always used, a member of coaching staff here. We've kind of split the roles between Millet and Ryan Mason in terms of attacking and defensive set pieces, and they put a lot of work into it along with the analysis staff, and I'm sure every club does these days. But some have gone down the specialised route, which I think I kind of understand. It's just it's not how I work. I've always tried to create a kind of collegiate, collective sort of environment for everything we do, so that nothing is really separated, hopefully. And I wouldn't feel comfortable in kind of just bringing in specialists for just one particular area, just for the way I work more than anything else. But I can see why other clubs do it, and they're an important part of football these days. But all parts of football, I think, are important. I don't think there's one that's more important than any other.
And just as important as the coach is having a good taker, and obviously you've got Pedro.
Yeah.
Obviously Madison, that's just as important having those.
Oh, it's vital. Yeah, I mean, delivery is vital. I thought last week it wasn't great. Matters is usually good at them, but I thought we had a lot and we didn't really. And I know Mesa was pretty disappointed with that. So it's always areas you can improve. And those guys practice them. He said Pedro's great, but it does help as much as your organisation. You still need somebody, who can execute. If you've got, I'll go back a bit, but if you've got David Beckham on a free kick, you don't need a set piece coach.
Just one more on that. I remember much of the day with highlighting how Everton was sort of targeting Kari. Is there a way to sort of help him overcome that?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But again, I think it's one of those kind of spot fires we've had during the year. I don't think it's been a real issue for us. I mean, it was that game, but I didn't feel that the officiating around that game. And it's been interesting to see since then. It seems like they've become a little bit more vigilant about how much contact there is in a penalty box. So we were the test case maybe for that. But I think Vic's handled it really well. It's not easy for a goalkeeper coming into the Premier League from a league outside, because I don't think there are many leagues. I don't think there are any leagues like the Premier League, and the pressure he puts on goalkeepers just from that aspect of it, the physical aspect of it. The nature and tempo of the Premier League, the amount of crosses that come in, not just from set pieces, just in general, probably outweighs most other leagues. So I think he's handled it really, really well. And the rest of it is just, like I said, us dealing with defensive set pieces. I think for the most part we've handled them pretty well. I don't think the club as a whole last year handled them too well. I think we've definitely improved in that area, but there have been games where we feel like we could have been better at. Last week, for instance, I mean, Ize's free kick was outstanding, but our wall was pretty poor. So, that's the things you kind of look at and you go, okay, well, let's see if we can fix that kind of stuff.
Done. And just to pick you up on something you said to Matt, you said you don't think the club will ever spend 100 million on a player. Is that because it's policy to look for more value in the market, or is that just purely financials?
I think it's purely financials. I mean, and to be honest, if I had the luxury of 100 million, I'd rather get 250 million, players. God, it's great, isn't it, to say that? Wonderful. The world where I've... Yeah, true. The world I've come from. Yeah, anyway.
Arsenal didn't look like they would be able to do that.
Yeah, you could be right. That could be just my, background and conservative nature where I've come from. Where, as I said, I've never been in that kind of position. I've always felt like it's really important how you use the funds you have available, knowing they're not limitless. If we can, and somebody tells me we can, I'll gladly spend it, mate. But I'll try and put limits on my wife's spending, and they try and put limits on mine, mate. So, yeah, works better that way. Just a bit of advice. Anyway.
I was going to ask something similar. Just trying to understand exactly why the club can do that, given the revenues it brings in, but also when you look ahead to the summer, it feels like the squad is pretty well set. It feels like only one or two additions, but big investments would make a big difference. Is that not how you're seeing it?
No. I think I've said in the past, we've got a lot of work to do still on the squad. I don't think we're anywhere near where we want to be, and it probably will take, a little bit more than just 3 windows to get there, for sure. Just in terms of the squad, the robustness of the squad, the adaptability of the squad, the compatibility of the squad, I think there's still a fair bit of change we need to do. And I certainly don't think we're 1 or 2 players away from getting to where I want us to be, nowhere near it. So, and some of this will just be natural evolution. Some of it hopefully means that we continue to get the improvement we've had this year from some of our players. If that happens over the next 12 months, then we'll be in a great position. But you've got to remember, a lot of our group, this is their first year in the Premier League for a good chunk of them that are sort of been there ever present, almost a big core of it. So we need them to keep improving at the rate they are. But we've still got a lot of work to do with the squad. I think we're a long way away from having 1 or 2 players to get us to where we want to.
So fair to say to expect a similar kind of approach this summer as
Well, a little bit that depends on kind of availability of players, suitability of players. So there could be more activity, could be less activity, but again, what we want to do is make sure we bring in the right ones. So I'm not saying that, maybe we only do bring 1 or 2, I don't know, but that'll only be because there are only 1 or 2 that we think are suitable for what we're looking for. But that doesn't mean we'll, like I said, we'll be where we want to be, or where I want us to be.
Just one point Kieran made about set pieces. Really, like you mentioned, why particularly him for the defensive side of set pieces? What does he bring, and does he also seem like the kind of coach who also wants to be a manager?
Millet's, obviously I coached him, and now he's a manager and coach in his own right, and he's very disciplined, and he's very well organised. And I just thought, with him not being out of the game too long ago, he's got a good understanding of what's there, and he's a scary bloke, mate. So people are scared to go up against him. So I figured that's good criteria.
Just finally to clarify, Hapsar, you said everyone was fit.
Yeah, he's fine. Yeah, he's okay. Like I said, he's been carrying a bit of a back niggle, but this week's been better, to be fair. Like I think last week not starting probably helped him a little bit. So he's all good. He's trained all week.
Okay, thanks guys. Thank you.
Sorry, can I just ask a question?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Hey, how you going?
National Women's Day, first of all.
These blokes wouldn't even think about it. Wouldn't even enter there. Seriously. Yeah.
Today, obviously, it was announced that Spurs is doing an official sports association for women athlete. How important do you think this is for the female fans and for the club as a whole?
Yeah, look, it's imperative. It's integral. It's I was asked a question before about the impact that women have had in my life from my mum, who I wouldn't be here without her, and kind of the way she nurtured me and the household she made. I felt very loving and caring, even though it was a struggle for them. To my wife, who's a superstar, and I wouldn't be manager of Tottenham if not for her, because she's always had more belief in me than any other person on this planet, certainly more than the blokes in this room. And I think as a football club, we've really, it's placed always a high importance on accessibility and being open for everyone, but it's without a shadow of a doubt really important that we also recognise the role that the women play in our football club, whether that's as fans, as people who work for the club, vital roles that we wouldn't be able to function without. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck, James. Thank you, guys.